Hello everyone, how are you today? Yeah, it's so good to be here again. How are you? I'm sure you've been awesome. I'm sure you've been doing extremely great. I know the economy says otherwise, but of course, you know who we are. We'll always do well. Remember what the Bible says? It says we are like a tree planted by the riverside, and in and out of season will always bear fruits. So welcome to my channel. My name is Happiness Ferguson-Agbeyisanmi. It's so good to be here. And just like every other thing we'll look around that we experience, especially in our relationships, one of the things I want to talk about is compromise. Yeah, compromise. I'm sure you are very familiar with that word, but then we want to talk about compromise. What is compromise? What is bad compromise? And what is good compromise? Of course, there are healthy and unhealthy compromise. So today we're going to be talking about compromise. So we'll just go right on with it. So what is compromise? Compromise is it's a state where there is a concession in um, there is a concession towards two individual differences. Yeah, there is a concession. It means that there is a sort of an agreement, something that okay we can agree about when it comes to what we both you know believe individually. So compromise, is it a bad thing, is it a good thing? Of course in our world today, compromise sometimes want to be the result of some of the things that we do just because we don't want to get on someone's nerves. We want to appear good in their face. We want to appear like we don't want to step on shoes, so we tend to agree even when it's against our beliefs, against our principle. So compromise is good and it can be bad. Yeah. Compromise can be bad. So what is healthy compromise? Healthy compromise is a compromise um, that happens when it has to do with an upgrade in the sense that it makes you better, it makes you a better person, it makes you to want to do more, it makes you to want to stretch yourself in a very positive way. So compromise in that regard, it's okay when it has to do with, when it's positive, when it's towards a goal, when it's towards something that is beneficial to you, or to when it's, if it's beneficial, if it's something that is that tends to be like I said, beneficial, especially in that moment. So if it's towards, if it spurs you towards something positive, then it's okay to compromise. All right. So, but when it's not, then that is when we begin to look at it as a red flag. So compromise in this regard, we are talking about compromising when you're not supposed to compromise just because you want to seem like a very nice girl. You don't want people to look at you like you're very different, so you agree, you just compromise. Okay, so some of the things we're going to be talking about today is compromising when you should and compromising when you shouldn't. Okay, so one of the things we need to know is that as we get ourselves in relationships, it is okay to want to agree. When you're in the midst of your friends and you know that what they're saying, even though you have your opinion, but at the end of the day what they're saying makes sense, and if you know that, okay, it's okay to, it doesn't mean that your opinion does not matter. Compromise is just saying, okay, you tend to be agreeable, you tend to want to have an open mind towards others. Yes, so compromise, you compromise when you are open-minded and you see that, oh, okay, what they're saying is not bad after all. I think I agree at the end of the day. So when you're open-minded, when you find out that what the other person is posing as what he or she feels is correct, it's not actually a wrong idea. It's actually okay if we look at it from his own perspective. Doesn't undermine your own perspective. So it's okay to compromise. The question is, don't compromise when there are some red flags, so let's just get right ahead on it. Okay, so when do you not compromise? One of the things you don't want to compromise is on your self-respect. You cannot compromise on your self-respect. Remember, you are who you are. You are worthy. You are unique. You're different. This lines seem to be my everyday words because, of course, I don't fail to remind people that they are unique and that they are different, they are exceptional. There is something beautiful about every human being, and so we need to learn to embrace our personality. Whether somebody is different from you, of course, we're not meant to be the same. I mean, that's our uniqueness. That's why we're unique. We shouldn't be the same. We shouldn't agree. We should have our different opinions. We are from different backgrounds, for crying out loud. So we're never going to agree. Our outlook towards life is very different. Our background, the things, our experiences, the people that we have associated with over the years, the places that we've gone to exposes us. So we tend to have our own individual uniqueness, our own individual the things that makes us different. Our way of thinking is different. It shouldn't be the same. It mustn't. I mean, it's not supposed to be the same. So we're talking about compromise when it matters. Okay, so but you don't compromise. One of the things you don't compromise is on your self-respect. Yeah, your self-respect, your self-worth. You are worthy. Nobody is allowed or permitted to make you feel otherwise. You don't want to be in a space that do not appreciate your essence. Everyone is uniquely different. We are beautiful. So you want to go to where you are appreciated. You want to go to where you are adored, where your presence is welcomed. You don't want to go to a place where they look down on you and it's as though you don't fit in. They make you feel like you are not welcome. They make you feel like a misfit. You don't want to be there. And apart from it being something that happens amongst maybe your social cycles, what about your personal relationship? Yeah, you don't want to be with someone, you know, that do not respect you. You don't want to be with such person. I mean, in a situation of you being in a relationship with somebody, this person is probably someone you want to settle down with. Of course, you should be with somebody that you are looking at the future, with. So when you find out you are with someone who you are looking at the future with, you want to be sure that this person respects you, respects who you are, respects you even as a person, respects you as an individual, because everyone deserves respect. Even a child deserves respect. A child deserves respect because as human beings, we are we want to feel loved, we want to feel accepted, we want to feel worthy. So when you begin to pry, or you begin to scratch someone's ego, when you begin to make somebody feel like he's less of a human being, or less of himself, you make someone, in that space, you make someone feel that way. That is a no-no. You don't want to be with someone. You don't want to be with someone or people that do not value you as a person. So self-respect is not something you want to compromise on. No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So when you find out that you are constantly in a circle or with people who don't respect you, who treat you less, who looks down on you, who feels that you're unworthy, who makes you begin to second guess who you are as a person, then that is a no-no. You don't want to be with such person, and you should insist. If you are in a relationship with such a person, you need to insist. You need to set these boundaries. You need to insist that you are, first of all, a lady, a human being. Then secondly, you're not just any lady. You are his woman, the person that he's looking at, a prospective spouse. So why do you want to make me feel less? I'm a woman. I have a lot to offer. I know who I am. So you don't make me feel less than who I am. So you should bring up those ground rules. Your spouse to be should not disrespect you. Disrespect is not something you want to accommodate in your relationship. Yeah. So that's number one. Then secondly, you don't want to compromise when there is no teamwork involved. Now, I mentioned earlier that self-respect, compromise comes into play when it is positive, when it spurs you towards something positive. For example, you can't constantly see your spouse and your um when you're encouraging your spouse now for the teamwork. Now you're not, like I said when there is no teamwork involved, you don't want to compromise. Yeah. For example, both of us, especially when I'm in a relationship with someone and the person wants me to change, maybe wants me to embrace exercise. Do you understand? And wants you to be a certain way, but he's not willing to put in the work. He's not willing to also do the same. What he's asking from you, he's not willing to put in the work. Do you understand? For example, maybe we decided that this is a project that we both want to do, and maybe we both want to save for it. It's a project which is supposed to be positive. Of course, a project that is beneficial to probably both of them, and one person is busy. Maybe, for example, let's just use money financially. Maybe we're saving for our wedding. I'm just trying to bring up an example. Maybe we're saving for our wedding, and one person is busy depositing money and the other person is doing nothing about it. So I mean, there is no teamwork, obviously. So you're asking, what's going on here? I've done this consecutively, but you're not bringing in the work. You're not bringing in the money. We both agree that this is what we want to do, and this is because of a particular goal that we have in mind that we are working towards. So I'm saving, I'm putting in the money, I'm bringing the money, I've saved into that account, or just something, and then you are not doing the same. So you don't want to compromise on that because it is one-sided. So compromise happens when it is teamwork. Two people. It takes two people to compromise. So when because it's something positive, if there is teamwork, it makes it easier. Of course, you both agreed and you came together. So when it's one-sided, you don't want to compromise. Of course, you're not a fool. It was something both of you agreed on. So when it's become one-sided, of course, you know what to do. Okay. Remember, you are the one making the effort here. One person is making the effort and the other person is not. So it doesn't make sense. Now, another reason you don't compromise is when they cross boundaries. Listen, ladies, and of course, it says both sides. You want to set ground rules. There are boundaries in your relationship. There are things you should accept and there are things you shouldn't accept. You don't there are values. You have values. Okay, there are things that you have trained yourself to accept. You have grown up to accept. You have come to a point where you have naturally, these are the things that work for you and these are the things that don't work for you. These are the things that you like and these are the things you don't like. You want to create that boundaries in your relationship. Yeah, so your spouse or your friends or whatever the relationship that you keep, know that this is the kind of person that you are. So there are boundaries that they don't set. Okay, they can't cross your boundaries, I mean to say. So when you lay down these boundaries, they know that by the time they are crossing the boundaries, I mean, you can't compromise in that aspect. Okay, so in not crossing boundaries are about you. It could be emotional boundaries, could be financial boundaries. There could be things that that works for you as a person. Okay, so when there are boundaries and you know that these are the things that we have already set, we have discussed that these are the boundaries we need to set in our relationships. So you don't want to compromise when they cross those boundaries. Okay, for example, you want to know, should we have female best friends? Yes. So if it's something that works for you, of course, you're open-minded and you don't mind, you let him know. You let the person know, would you be able to accommodate a female in your life as a best friend? You let the person know. But if not, you let the person know that you cannot, these are the things that you would not accept. Okay, so you can't afford to compromise when they cross those boundaries, because these are the laid down rules that you have already set even before you started out on your relationships. So let it be known. But by the time they cross these boundaries, you know that is a no-no and you shouldn't compromise in that regard. Okay, so another thing is when you stop recognizing yourself, you can't even try to compromise. When this compromise, when you begin to compromise in this regard, when you discover that, I mean, you're giving, you're accepting, you are allowing things, and as it's going on, it's as though you're losing yourself. That is an unhealthy compromise. A compromise that makes you lose yourself. I mean, that makes you no longer stay true to who you are. That is not a healthy compromise. When you discover that you're constantly accepting something that shouldn't have been, you're constantly allowing something to be just because you want to please him, just because you don't want to you don't want to complain, or you don't want to lose that relationship, then you begin to lose yourself. The things that you naturally would never do, you begin to do because you want to please this person. And you know one thing about um people, when you begin to please someone and then you displease yourself, those things, for example, you're a Christian, you have values, there are things you would never do as a Christian. Of course, you should be in a relationship with a Christian. The Bible says do not be unequally yoked. Okay, so even as a Christian, you find out that this person is not actually doing what he's supposed to be doing. You discover that you're now doing things to please this person. You're losing yourself. You're losing yourself. For example, one beautiful example I will always make is when you both have agreed that there will be no sex before marriage, and then because the person begins to blackmail you, try to blackmail you emotionally, try to make you feel like, if you're not going to do this, I'm going to leave you, I'm going to walk away, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you go ahead to say you don't want to lose this person. I mean, if he leaves now, who's gonna marry me? I don't know if I'll meet somebody as nice as that. I don't know if I'm gonna meet somebody that is as cool as this, or as rich as this, or as this and that. And you begin to give in to his request. Something you would never do, even as a Christian. Something you would never do before you have made up your mind. Both of you discussed it, but along the line, this issue came up. You can't compromise. Now at this point, you're beginning to lose yourself. You're beginning to lose your values. I mean, these are the things you hold dear. These are the things you know you would not do. You have made this promise. You have kept to yourself that you will not do this, but because you feel, after all, we're going to get married at the end of the day, what else? Well, I mean, what do I have to lose? And then you begin to indulge. You compromise, you're compromising, and that is very, very unhealthy. So you can't afford to compromise when you discover that you're losing yourself. You're losing those values that you've placed on yourself, those principles, those things that makes you you. You can't afford to compromise. So that is one thing you need to not accommodate. Okay, so another reason why, when this is another unhealthy compromise, is when they always need to have the last word. I mean, of course, in a relationship, there are bound to be arguments. And then now, I'm not putting it only in the confines of a relationship between a man and a woman. I'm also, expanding it to your social circle. Okay, so when you have the need to want to, when you're in an argument, you understand, when you're in an argument with your people, with maybe your friends or even your partner, of course, arguments spurs out of disagreements, out of everyone having an opinion. Between you and your partner, you both have an opinion. You have an opinion, he has an opinion, and then maybe there's something that is an issue, and both of you argue. So there are healthy arguments. I mean, we argue. Of course, at the end of the day, at the end of this argument, there should be some form of concession. There should be some form of, oh, okay, I see you have a point. Okay, maybe I'm not seeing it from your perspective, but now that you have explained, now that I see, now that you have gone ahead to tell me how you feel, I can begin to see from your perspective. Okay, so that's okay. All right, so an argument that ends that way helps you know how to relate better. You now know what this person likes, what this person can condone, and what the other person cannot condone. So arguments are necessary, of course, to help your relationship stronger. In the case where you're doing something that is not right and the other person is not agreeing or does not like it, that's a simple thing. When we argue, we air our opinions and you air how we feel about certain issues. It shouldn't be a problem. All you need to do at the end of the day is, okay, now we can compromise because we can compromise because we are now we now understand each other better, so it helps us to relate better. Nobody is standalone. We now know what each other feels. But when it becomes a problem, when the person you're arguing with is constantly controlling the conversation, like controlling the argument. The person wants to have the last say, like he wants to be heard, he wants to not be heard, he wants to make sure that his opinion is stronger. And you see that his or her opinion is most paramount, is more paramount in this regard, and that he is right in his own way. Never compromise. You can't afford to compromise in that kind of setting. You need to understand, okay, um we both have a different opinion about this thing. You can't always be controlling the argument. No, you can't. When you're with such people, you discover that this person just wants to he wants to air his opinion, and he wants to feel that his own opinion is stronger, and that everybody should do what he feels, and that he's the one that has a stronger point, and that your own opinion doesn't matter, but his own opinion matters. There are people like that, so you don't want to compromise with such. So at when you see such certain, you sense that this is what is going on. It's a no. You know what to do. That's a red flag. Okay. So another another unhealthy compromise is when um this is very, very dicey, this one I'm about to say. When one partner is expected to pay for everything. Now, this one is in the context of a relationship. Now we're talking about spouses here, all right? And then of course there are bills in the house. Let me tell you something. In as much as you are married, I'm talking to you from the perspective of a lady now. As a lady, I married a provider, all right? And there are men in that space. There are men that want to feel like they provide. They want to feel like they're contributing to the relationship by catering for your needs, taking care of the bills in the house, taking care of so many things, all right? As a lady, please note that at some point you don't fold your hands and watch. Yeah, be wise, be smart. You don't fold your hands and watch. Your husband will love you. Your spouse will appreciate you more when he sees that you're making an effort. You're trying to, okay, baby, I know you've done this. I know you've done, maybe you pay the kids' school fees. I know you've paid the rent. I know you do your best. You try to do, to do these things. And I recognize your efforts, but I would like to handle this. I mean, you don't even have to tell him. For example, little bills like the light bills, water bills, some of these things that you can handle. Handle it. You don't expect that everything. I mean, this is going to go on for years. I mean, our men, you need to give our men some credit. Give our men some credit. I respect men. I appreciate them. My friends that are men, my husband, I appreciate them so much because they do a lot. I mean, they are the most selfless people on earth, after your parents, of course. Now, this time around, they've taken up your responsibility and they want to be there. They want to show up. So, one of the ways you want to recognize your spouse's efforts is to just take up little things. You don't need to tell him. Let him be the one to say, no, I don't appreciate you doing this. But then he will love you more, he will appreciate you. At least you want to contribute to the family home front. You want to contribute in one way or the other. You want to add to what he's already doing. Okay, I know most men that are providers will probably not tell you, I've taken care of that, I've taken care of that, I've taken care of that. But hello, ladies, please take up some responsibility. All right, take up some responsibility. Don't have your own money. Don't call him to come and pay for. Of course, he can buy pad for you. When they do things like maybe your toiletries, when maybe on his way back from work or something, and you run out of stuff like that. Of course, he can do that, but expecting that now you want to buy this thing, you collect from him. You want to do this, you collect from him. You don't even have your own money to tend to little things for yourself. I mean, so there should be some form of. There are some things we ladies should learn to take up. All right. So that's one thing. As a matter of fact, one partner is not expected to pay for everything. No, it's not written anywhere. You can assist. What if he's down? What if tomorrow the provider, God forbid, but sometimes challenges happen. Life happens. What if there are challenges? What are you going to do? You have money and you're not going to assist that man? No, you don't want to do that. And you have money, except you're not in a position where you can help. But then that's why you need to be empowered yourself so that you can contribute to the home front. So don't exactly leave all the bills or the responsibility for your man to handle. You should step up and handle some of these things. I mean, there are ladies that are taking care of their home front even when their man is challenged and cannot do anything financially at that point. There are ladies that are taking up the responsibilities and nobody knows. Yeah, nobody knows. They don't go about running their mouth and saying, I'm the one taking care of my husband now, I'm the one doing this and that. No, nobody knows. There are ladies doing that. So step up. You can. Nothing is stopping you. And of course, we ladies recognize a good man. When a good man, has been showing up for a long time and then there is a challenge, of course, we know what to do at that point in time. It's just natural. We'll always step up. Yeah, we will. Okay, so last but not the least is when they make all the decisions for you. That is an unhealthy compromise. You can't afford to agree to someone or to your spouse when he or she makes all the decisions for you. You don't have a say, you don't have an opinion. Your opinion do not count. Opinion don't count. You want to say something, he tells you to shut up. You want to have a say. I mean, when it comes to basic decisions in the house or something, he tells you you don't have a say. Your opinion don't count. You can't make a decision. You're a woman. I mean, these are red flags. You can't afford to compromise. These are the things that you cannot accept. Okay? So you need to work on these things. So lastly, I said last but not the least, but lastly now, sorry, I have one more point. Losing your personality and independence in a just because you want to compromise. Hello, dear ladies, dear man, don't lose your personality because of anybody. Don't lose yourself in a bid to please somebody. Do not do that. Do not do that. Anybody that makes you compromise, anybody that makes you lose yourself, holds you against your will, anybody that will not make you, be yourself, be expressive, you don't want to be with such people. You lose your independence, you lose your freedom, you lose your principles, you begin to compromise because you want to please this person, you don't want to lose this person, you want to always, make him, feel like you're listening and that you can always get what you want. Of course, no, you don't want to compromise in this regard. Okay, so like I said, compromise is healthy and can be healthy, I beg your pardon, and can be unhealthy. So healthy compromises, like I said, is when this person is encouraging you to do something that is beneficial to you, especially, for example, exercise. He wants you to be more fit, feels because exercise is okay for your health, not because he feels you're too big, you're too that. No, the person encourages you to, be fit. That is good. The person encourages you to save money for the future. That's a good compromise, don't you think? The person encourages you spiritually, encourages you to pray, to take your spiritual life more seriously. That's a good compromise. I agree. So compromise can be very, very healthy when it is purposeful, when it is towards a goal, when it is towards something that is beneficial and very positive for you, when it's beneficial to your future. Compromise is healthy. So I've taken my time to talk about those things that are unhealthy compromises. Do well to let me know what you think about those unhealthy compromises. And remember, those are just few of them. There are so much more. Okay, so I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly share. Please share. Like, If you're a new subscriber, please subscribe. Okay, thank you so much. Until I come your way again, have a nice time. Bye.